Navigating Money Matters in College webinar series. Whether you are a student, parent, or educator, we are dedicated to assisting you in navigating financial challenges during college. Throughout this series, we'll cover crucial topics like budgeting, student loans, scholarships, part time employment, and more. Our aim is to empower you with the knowledge needed for informed financial decisions. To ensure a smooth webinar experience, please adhere to these guidelines. Be courteous to host, speakers, and fellow participants. Join a few minutes early to avoid technical issues. Use the chat and Q&A features to ask questions, share insights, and connect with other participants. If you're hesitant to ask questions now, consider joining our live event on January 11th at UOG Fieldhouse from 9 to 12 p.m., where you can personally meet presenters, including representatives from 4 local banks, and engage in discussions at their informational tables. Keep personal information to private for everyone's security. Ensure a stable internet connection. Reach out to our support team for technical issues. At the end of our webinar today, we will provide a survey and we would appreciate it if you could complete it, as we value your feedback. This webinar will be recorded and posted on the TAC website. Your camera feature will not be accessible to protect your privacy. Let's make this series a valuable learning experience together. Good evening. All right. Welcome, Triton students and honored guests to this is our second day, our Navigating Money Matters in College webinar series. I'm Vivian, Financial Advising at the Triton Advising Center. Note a change in the venue for the Navigation Money Matters in College Fair scheduled for Thursday, January 11th. The new venue is at the lecture hall, so kindly take note of this adjustment, okay? College class lecture hall. So today we delve into the intricate world of scholarship mastery, navigating success in application and beyond. Our focus for the day is to provide scholarship guidance, covering types applications, eligibility criteria, and essential resources to empower you on your scholarship journey. Now, I am delighted to introduce our first presenter for today, Ms. Janae Agan from UOG Endowment Organization. And Ms. Janae is here to share a wealth of information about the diverse scholarship available to you. So pay close attention as she may also unveil key tactics to enhance your scholarship application and essays. So take it away, Ms. Janae.
Top of day, everybody. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Janae. Again, I'm the development coordinator here at the UOG Endowment Foundation. Sorry, we're still working here behind the scenes. If you don't know what the UOG Endowment Foundation is, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization created to assist the University of Guam in its mission for higher education. So we do a lot of work to help gain more funding for different capital campaign projects, different research projects here on campus, as well as scholarships, which is what we're really known for. And let me share my screen. So let me start. What is the UOG Endowment Foundation? We are a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. We were created to facilitate donations from the community and to provide financial support to the University of Guam. And we align our giving opportunities with UOG at UOG with individuals and companies and organizations based on their interests and passions. So my main focus here is scholarships. So I meet with different donors in the community who want to leave a lasting legacy. And so they do that by endowing scholarships with us so that students at the university will be able to pursue their higher education. And of course, because we are a nonprofit organization, all of our donations are tax deductible. And we do have an operational fund gained through all the donations, which is a 2.5% administration fee. That's just some of the our scholarship recipients. And here's just some facts about, well, these are old facts, but full-time credits, I believe these are all changed because this is for fall 2021, and the enrollment was at 3,614 students. Overall, we have a little over 46 scholarships. We have 20, as of today, we have, I believe, 24 annual and 26 endowed scholarships. And we try to provide each scholarships during the fall and the spring semester. So we're actually still awarding for the fall semester. Our scholarship committee has not finished their selection, so we will be awarding that soon. And then our scholarships for spring 2024 will be posted on our website soon. So they want to, a lot of people are asking, what are the different kinds of scholarships? Because they always hear me say annual, direct scholarships, hybrid, or endowed scholarships. So they're just really the type of scholarships that we offer. An annual scholarship is a scholarship that's given once a year and created just because the donor wants to give back to the community. So one example of that is the Palau Women's Club Scholarship. And we just actually awarded, and we will be updating our website to show the recipients of that scholarship. A hybrid scholarship is a little bit different. It's a scholarship where a portion of the funds are invested so that they can continue to earn and accumulate throughout the year. So that way it'll be a self-sustaining scholarship. But a portion of that the donor wants to award to a student right away. So that's why it's called a hybrid, because half invested and half already awarded. Now, endowed scholarships are our most famous scholarships here. Well, I don't know why I call it famous, but they're one of our favorite scholarships because they are endowed, which means they're self-sustaining. So we have scholarships like the James and Young Hee Ji Scholarship, which is one of our most popular scholarships that we award. It awards annually 2,500 per student. And I take that back. We award 5,000 per student. So it's split 2,500 each semester. So that's an endowed scholarship. So the donor has a set amount of money that they want to invest to give back to the community through scholarships, and they invest it with us, and we basically take care of the account, and we just do the donor's wishes and award to students as long as they meet the criteria. How to apply for a UOG-EF scholarship. So all our scholarships are advertised online at our website, give.uog.edu. And when you go on there, I know we usually have a lot of events posted up. We just go directly to scholarships, and the scholarships that are available will be shown on the page. Let me just go to that. So it looks like this. The scholarships available will be shown on this page. If they're not available, then it will just say no scholarships available at this time. But usually when the scholarships are available, there will be a list there. Not to be confused with the list on our tab that lists all the names of the scholarship we have. Our scholarships are only open for in the beginning of the fall semester and the beginning of the spring semester. It's very important too that you kind of read what the different scholarships we offer have and what their requirements are. Some scholarships are very different and some are specific to course or study. So we have a scholarship called the ADS scholarship, which is a brand new scholarship, and it's only for accounting students. So if you're an agriculture student, you won't qualify. So you'd be, wasting your time filling out an application. So please make sure that you meet the requirements when you're applying for a scholarship, because that's really what the holdup is being able to filter through all the different scholarships to make sure that you qualify. Of course, all of our applications must be accompanied by an official transcript. I know that I've had questions in the past about having being able to use their web advisor transcripts, I guess, to show their grades. We will not take that. As per our donors, we follow what our donors request is, and they majority of them would like to see an official transcript because they would like to see your current GPA, your current standing in the classes that you're taking. There's this part here where it says official transcripts are free for UOG students. That is null at the moment. We're still working on that. That is something that we were working with Dean Lawrence. But of course, you know, the Dean Lawrence has moved on. So we are going to revisit that, and I need to update this. I apologize about that. And lastly, applicants can turn in their applications online through our website. That is the fastest way to submit applications, only because sometimes hard copies, if you send it in through the mail or you drop it to our office, in 1 year, I got a little over 400 scholarships dropped off, hard copies, and it took so long, so the selection process took even longer. So we suggest and we recommend send your applications online through our website. You can also send it through our email at info@uogendowment.org. Make sure that you attach any supporting documents and transcripts. We also put the link here how you can request for your transcripts online. I believe it's easier if you request it online, and I believe you can also make payments online via credit card. This is how our online scholarship application form looks like. It's very simple to follow. You just fill out the boxes, and there is an area, doesn't show here, but some scholarships are very specific, and they request for supporting documents such as essays, letter of recommendation, a high school diploma, and the Carrie Paris Entrepreneurial Scholarship as for a business plan. There is a part there, doesn't show here. There is a part there in the end where you can submit supplemental information, and that's where you can upload those supporting documents. And of course, I'm going to reiterate this: all applications must be accompanied by an official transcript or a transcript from the last institution that the applicant attended. So if you're a high school graduate and this is your first semester, you would just need to submit a copy of your high school transcript. And I'm not too sure if they do that electronically, but I believe that UOG does it electronically, so you wouldn't need to physically pick it up and drop it off here. Everything will be emailed directly to us here at the Endowment Foundation. You just need to let them know that you're requesting because you're applying for a scholarship. So this is how it looks when we have available scholarships. It will show that what applications for scholarships are now open and when they're due. We usually have them due by 4 p.m. On the date that they are due. And this is how it looks when the list of scholarships available. When you press on the plus sign, it will drop down. The drop down will show you the different requirements for each scholarship. So I know Akira Baba requests for 3 letters of recommendation and an essay on what they would like to do for the island in the future. The Caribou Family Scholarship, I know that one, it's more of a thesis scholarship, so that's usually geared towards graduate students. So it really differs for each scholarship. You really just have to read and see if you qualify for it. The Class G's for Giving Scholarship is only open to students who are enrolled at the College of, who are enrolled in class. CNAS, G's for Giving, that's also for students enrolled in CNAS. So there's really a lot of different scholarships. We do cater to a lot of different students and different groups here. You just need to check and see which one it is. the selection process. Who is in the selection process? I know I get a lot of emails about this because sometimes the selection process takes some time. And the reason being is because we work with so many different people in the selection process. Number one is the donor family. The donor family, the family representative. A lot of our scholarships our donors are very hands on it. They want to be involved in the process. So that's one of the reasons why it takes a little bit longer. But I mean, I appreciate that because at least I know that the donor is sincere about the reason why they want to give the scholarship. And then we also have a representative from each one of the colleges here, class, representative from class, CNAS, SBPA, School of Health, School of Education, School of Engineering, and of course, EMSS. And then if there is another individual or organization that's requested by the donor, then we have them put their input as well. For the Patricia and Thomas Christ internship grant, that scholarship actually requires the student to be intern at a nonprofit organization. And part of the selection process is it needs to be vetted through the financial aid office as well as the global learning and engagement office. So it really just depends on the donor's intent. So that's some of the reasons why selection takes a long time. Only completed applications will be submitted for the selection process. A lot of the times I do get applications where it's just a name, but then the scholarship is not specified. I don't bother submitting it. If I emailed you back requesting for a transcript or a pending supplemental document that needs to be part of the scholarship, if I don't get it at a certain time, then I don't submit that application. I only could submit completed applications because we do get a lot of applications and it does take a lot of time for our selection committee to go through them and to actually read the different essays that they submit. So if it's incomplete, I'm sorry. And if I give you a time limit to turn it in, and I've been pretty lenient and I've been pretty good about giving people a chance to turn in documents even after. But if you don't turn it in, then I don't submit it. So if we go back here, let's say the deadline date. So this one, the deadline date was May 5, 2022. If you did not get your transcript in by that time, as long as you show me that you submitted a request for your transcript, because I know that transcripts takes time to be processed and to mail out or to send via email. So as long as you can show proof that you requested it by the deadline date, then I'm usually very good about accepting it after the fact. And then, of course, the selection process, we arrange and we sort all applications. We do follow-up calls, emails for anything incomplete. And I tried to do it 3 times before deeming the application incomplete before the deadline date or even after the deadline date. And we do have, these are just some of the scholarships that we have available here. Akira Baba Memorial Scholarship. This is open to everybody. Caravue Family Scholarship. This is a graduate thesis scholarship open to those in Micronesian Studies. Cirilla Rapadas is a scholarship that primarily supports social workers and those pursuing social work. The Christine P. Lewis Memorial Fund, it awards 2 students, and this one is open as well. It could be any major. Class, G's for Giving Scholarship is for any student enrolled in class. The CNAS G's for Giving Scholarship is for any student enrolled in CNAS, and so on and so forth. I can go on. We have so many different scholarships available at the moment. Unpaid intern scholarships are for those who are currently still in school and interning at a nonprofit. So let's say you're a social worker student and a social work student and you're still in class, but you're also doing your intern, let's say at CPS, this scholarship will applies to you. You can do that as well. And that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My information is right here. And you can give us a call at 735-2957, and we will be at the class lecture hall on Thursday. So we will have a booth there. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, we'll be available there too as well.
Yay. Thank you, Ms. Janae, for your
Thank you so
presentation.
much.
We have some question actually from our participants
Okay.
I received from my private chat. If I find myself falling short on paying my semester, does your organization offer assistance to students in such situation?
No, unfortunately, our scholarships are very specific, and it doesn't specify being able to assist those who are short or behind on payment. So, I mean, the best I can recommend is to, if you are currently in school, enrolled in class, just apply for whatever scholarships that we have open that applies to you. You know, I find that sometimes, like, our donors or our selection committee, they're they really do look at everything. I mean, they look at if you are currently a graduate student pursuing your master's or your bachelor's. They look at everything. They look at your financial aid status. So the best I can say is just apply. I've had some students who didn't think they would qualify, and they didn't think that they would get the scholarship, and they got it. I also wanted to add to, just apply for the scholarship. You know what? A lot of people think that because there's a lot of people who apply for a lot of scholarships that it's going to be hard for them to receive one. To be quite honest, we've had some applicants apply to a scholarship, and they were the only applicant, and they got it. So, you just never know. As long as you just apply to the ones that pertain to you, so that way you're not wasting your time doing all the requesting for transcripts or the essays or the letters of recommendation.
Hey, thank you. Participants, you can put your if you have questions, you can go ahead and put that on our chat or the Q&A. Is how to stand out in scholarship application and make a strong impression? Just give us one if you can.
Oh,
If
a
you're
strong
allowed
impression.
to.
I totally can. You know, I'll take the James and Young Heeji's. Well, no, let me take the back. I'll use the Christine Lewis Memorial Fund. That one, we do get a lot of scholarship applicants, and it requires an essay. And I'm telling you now, you'll be surprised at how a properly written essay will get you far. Some students submit an essay and they don't put their name on the essay. Some students don't bother like with the grammar or like the proper indentation. So our donor really looks at that. So if you put just a little bit of effort in your essay, it will definitely stand out. And I don't know if I should say this, but our scholarship committee, they talk to each other. And they know the students that apply multiple times for different scholarships. And they see that. So they notice that, okay, the student has been continuously applying every semester. I like his tenacity. I think we should award him. So it really, honestly, it's I don't know. It really just depends on the mood of the scholarship committee, but they do like seeing properly written essays. I'm sorry. They really like properly written essays. It doesn't even mean like to have, I'm not even too sure about the content, but proper indentation, your name on the top, the title of the essay, they like that because they want to be able to know, okay, what is this essay that I'm reading? Because they're going to be reading so many different essays. So if you properly write out, in the top, Janae again, essay, my future goals for my future goals when I graduate, something like that. As long as you properly write it out and title it, it will have a big impact. I see there's a question. Do you
One
have a
question here.
senior citizen scholarship? We don't have a senior citizen scholarship. All the scholarships, it's open to any ages. So if you're a student of any age, you can apply for it.
Nice. Any more questions, participants?
And we're
None? All right, I guess that's all we have for you, Miss Janae.
not a
Thank
problem.
you for your great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like
All
to add,
right,
so on
so
Thursday, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I'd like to add on Thursday,
Yes.
but we will be there. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. And we will have, for everybody that visits our table, we will have a raffle. We just like to meet the students and kind of get to know the students. So if you come and sign up, check our table during the outreach, and follow us on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook, and of course, our website is give.uog.edu. We will be having a little contest for those who follow us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as who comes over and signs our outreach form and gives us our email. This is just a way to keep in touch with the students, to let them know some of the things we do, because we do also, we do look for volunteers a lot of the times. I'm not too sure if you're remember the Rob Schneider comedy show. We had a bunch of student volunteers, and at the end of the night, they were able to meet Rob Schneider. So, we'd like to do some of those things for the students.
Yay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Janae.
Thank you.
All right. So now that you're well versed in available scholarships on campus, meet our next presenters, Mr. Michael Castro and Mr. Darren Palms. They will be the one to guide you in showcasing your alignment with goals, academic achievements, expressing financial need, and crafting compelling personal statements. So let's take notes together. Engage actively and empower yourself with skills for success and application and beyond. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Castro and Mr. Palms. Your journey toward financial empowerment and academic success begins now. All right. Take it away, Mr. Castro and Mr. Palms.
Thank you for the introduction, Ms. Valdez. Hafa day, everyone. My name is Michael Castro. I am a graduate student at the University of Guam pursuing a Master's of Arts in English. I'm also the head tutor here at the Department of English and Applied Linguistics Writing Center. I'm joined today by my fellow tutor. I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Darren Palmes. I'm a recent graduate, and I studied or graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in English Literature while also minoring in Writing and Political Science. It's nice to meet you all.
Okay. So today we're going to be discussing scholarship essays, particularly what are the fundamental components that kind of go into them, what can affect them, and so forth. We've broken down our presentation to several segments, but the first thing that we're going to be getting into is brainstorming and pre-writing, right? So this is one of the fundamental stages of the writing process. It's where you kind of plan out your goals, your objectives with the paper. The first thing we want to emphasize is that we highly encourage people to plan ahead, right? So as what Ms. Uggan was saying in her presentation, right? You want to keep in mind the dates for your scholarship essay, right? So keep in mind the due dates that are present, and don't be afraid to organize your ideas. Your organization may it may look like a list, it may look like kind of like a spider web thing or whatever, but having some kind of plan will only help you as you kind of develop your ideas further. Another thing to keep in mind too is that during this brainstorming and pre-writing stage, you may want to start just getting some content on the page, right? So what we say in composition is that first drafts are always messy, right? And they're messy because you need to have some content that you can iron out later, right? So that you can submit something that looks very official and complete. So get as much content as you can during this stage, right? It may look like a series of paragraphs that are disjointed from each other, but as long as you have something to work with, then you can kind of refine it, right, later on. Another thing too that we kind of recommend for students to think about is for students to know their audience, right? So as an example, if I was writing to Bank of Guam, I may kind of omit any reference to other banks, right? So and although this writing may contain personal experiences from you, it's still a professional form of writing. So with that in mind, you might not have time to kind of go on different tangents and so forth. You have probably a very limited window, right? You have a specific word count you have to meet, a page limit. And so you need to be as concise and straightforward as you can, right? Because that can only allow you to better kind of elaborate on your topic and so on. Right. And so regarding topics, when you're sharing these personal experiences, right? What we recommend here at the Writing Center is that although you may feel inclined to kind of mention maybe obstacles that you encountered or stories of hardship, what may be more helpful for you to kind of emphasize are the moments in which you were able to overcome said adversity, right? So when you're writing these scholarship essays, what's important for you is to kind of differentiate yourself from your peers and kind of showcase the quality that your character specifically is capable of. And so the only way to kind of do that is to kind of just showcase how when faced with adversity, you were able to kind of navigate the situation in order to better kind of situate yourself, right, in a new environment. Darren, did you have any input on that? Right.
Yeah, of course. So when considering your topics and your hardships, you have to really take your time with it. This is a reason why outlining is going to be very, very important, just because you're going to see a lot of your topics that you're thinking of it in your brain right now from a top-down perspective or even a bird's eye view, right? You're going to be able to differentiate the different topics that you're thinking of and seeing which one's going to best work out for you, right? And as we move on to more about topics, right, we kind of came up with 2 examples here for you. And these 2 examples kind of showcase how this person who's applying for a scholarship is writing their essay. And the first example I'm going to go ahead and read out. So it reads, after graduating from high school, I felt lost and confused. I struggled to maintain a steady job and lost many of my friends, right? And let's take a look at the second one. I'm going to go ahead and read it as well. I was not dealt a fair hand after high school, being raised in a low economic household, but I continued to seek out opportunities. My first attempts at securing steady income were in jobs at my local gas station and mall. However, I had difficulty balancing my personal life with the long hours. Eventually, I made the tough decision to apply for classes at my university, and my past experiences have taught me caution and to not overstretch myself. Right, so with these 2 examples, we can see that, of course, the big difference that we see visually is they're very different in length, right? But what we kind of want to focus on is the content, right? So what this writer chose to do in the first example is, yes, they kind of wrote about their hardships or their personal life experiences for the essay, but they kind of omitted a lot of bigger things that they should have included, which includes the lessons they learned or even what they would plan to do with those lessons for the future, which is all of this is exemplified in the second example, right? So here in this example, the writer displays a lot of initiative and willingness to kind of improve their life, right? So they're kind of learning from these lessons and they're telling the reader what they're going to do with these lessons. So it's really important to consider one of the reasons or one of the ways that you can really stand out in your topics is by kind of applying how the writer in the second example chooses to learn from their experiences or their hardships or even adversities, just as Michael said.
Yeah, it's all about kind of framing it, right? So the first one, if I can compare it to anything, it's more of a sketch, right? You certain information is conveyed so that you can kind of understand that something did happen. But with the second one, it allows for the reader to kind of understand your situation, maybe even empathize with you, right?
Yeah, and then Yeah, and an important thing to note down as well, right, is because when you have that first example, it's only a general idea, and when you generalize an idea like that, a lot of people have experienced that. But as long as you can give people perspective of who you are, that's going to give you a lot of advantage in applying for these scholarships, right? And moving on from like topics, we get more into outlining and organizing before we even get started with the body or writing, right? So outlining kind of helps the writer get a better understanding of their overall message. So it gives you a really cohesive look of your ideas, again, from like a bird's eye view. And an example of outlining, but not limited to, is kind of like using bullet points, right? I'm pretty sure we've kind of used this a lot to even take notes during class, but bullet points are really helpful. But for me as a writer, one of the ways that really bullet points really benefit me is I use strong keywords rather than like long sentences or paragraphs, because a lot of long sentences and paragraphs can make your outline look super bulky. It can make it look overwhelming when you're just starting to write an essay. And if you can just even jot down 1, 3, 4 words that encompasses the idea of the paragraph or section you want to write about, I think that's going to be more beneficial rather than kind of having a bunch of flowery words in the middle kind of overwhelming you at the same time, right? And of course, there's different ways to outline and to pre-write, and these are just one of the examples that I personally use. An example for organization is actually you can organize your ideas by importance. So let's say you're already outlining, but you don't have any idea of which direction or which flow you want your essay to go. And an example of that is by using importance. So by importance, we mean, what do you think the reader should know first, and what do you think they can know last, right? So we're not really saying one idea is more important than the other or one is not as important, right? We're just more so saying for you as the writer, what do you think the reader should have first, right? Because you don't want to tell them an important piece of your story at the last paragraph when it should have been done at the first to give them that context, right?
Yeah. And just to add on that, Darren, too, another right, strategy, right? So we were talking about using strong keywords, right? That was what Darren's suggestion. Another thing too could be if you're kind of brainstorming, right? Grouping related ideas with each other can also kind of help you think about what direction you want to take it, right? Like with importance, what do they need to know first, first and foremost, so that they can kind of understand where I'm coming from, and then so on.
Definitely a visual idea would also really help and be beneficial if it's like more of your direction of how you kind of write things out, right? So just know there isn't always one way to do it. And of course, one of the final things that we discuss about pre-writing and brainstorming before you even get to writing is follow and answer the prompt, right? So some scholarship essays, you'll see that they have similar prompts, and this kind of can be convenient for you as the writer, because you can use the same essay for the same for different scholarship applications, but this doesn't mean you get to submit the same essay for everything else, right? This just means that if you see that it's like or the same exact prompt, then you can use the same essay, but just note that even the slightest change of words or phrases in a prompt or question that they're asking you can pretty much need you to write out another essay altogether. So just be careful and really look carefully and review everything that they're requesting of you before even getting started with those outlining, organizing, or even brainstorming ideas. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce the next portion. So the next portion is going to be for introduction. Michael's going to go over what an introductory paragraph can have and what you guys can incorporate.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Darren. And so one of the main purposes of your introductory paragraph is to kind of explain your overall purpose and your reason behind applying, right? So the key thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to connect this purpose with the overall like question, right? Or the prompt. This could be like a personal experience or something you share with a large portion of the population. But the key thing to remember is that you need to give insight into your experiences and your worldview, right? The overall objective with these scholarship essays is to kind of differentiate yourself, showcase your quality as a person and as a competent individual. And another thing to keep in mind too is that in this introductory paragraph or paragraphs, right, you may have a hook, right? The hook can be a sentence or a series of sentences where you can kind of display some flair, right? Keep in mind too, while this is a professional piece of writing, there is room for creativity as you're kind of playing with a lot of your personal experiences. This is where you can kind of set yourself apart from other people. And then following that will be your body. So the body is whereas the first one, you're kind of introducing yourself and your purpose, the body is where you're starting to explain things, right? You may kind of share a personal experience. And then you may even kind of break that down, right? Kind of respond to it, what we would call an analysis and composition. But again, kind of to emphasize what we've been saying in the previous slides, you want to add to the conversation, right? Just kind of saying what everyone else has already said may not be sufficient. So in order to kind of add to the conversation, you'll have to utilize specific details, right? If, for example, if you were writing about personal experiences related to your time here on the island of Guam, showcase your perspective as an islander, whether you're native Chamorro or another Pacific Islander or Filipino. This is your body paragraph, your evidence and analysis. This is the place to do that. We always recommend that when a writer doesn't go too much into detail, right? They don't rely on their specificity. They kind of rely on generalities. Then they tend to it's not as interesting, right? So you want to advocate for yourself. You want to kind of just sell your experiences and stuff so that whoever is kind of administering the scholarship will kind of consider you, right? Consider your application. Darren, did you have any input on tone?
Yeah, so when it comes to tone, right, just in continuation of Mike was talking about, of really highlighting your voice, tone is also something to take into consideration. Tone, you can kind of take a look at it as how you sound in your essay. And a way you can kind of hear your tone is by reading out loud or even giving someone your essay or draft to read and kind of give you feedback, right? And an important aspect in tone for scholarship essays specifically is to really stay positive, motivational, inspirational, right? We don't want to bum out the person that's reading this paper. You know, we can explain our hardships and situations, but we want to make sure that we're learning from these and that we're spinning them into something positive and something good, right? And staying that way can kind of really help keep your tone like uplifting, right? And so we consider 2 examples to kind of exemplify tone. So we're gonna read over 2 examples and you're gonna kind of decide for yourself which is more attention-seeking to you or attention-catching to you, right? So my first time traveling abroad was during a family vacation to Mexico in 2010. Compared to it was 2010, I had just crossed the border into Mexico and my life was about to change, right? So from these, you can kind of clearly already tell that the second one is, it catches your attention more. And that's because it kind of invokes more empathy and feelings and emotion to the reader compared to the first one, right? It's kind of just like you're telling a general sense of what was happening, like from an outside perspective. But when you consider the second option, it's kind of putting the reader into that same situation and kind of you're kind of making them feel what you felt in that specific situation, right?
And just to add on that too, right? Besides content, I think another difference that the 2 examples show is that visually they're very different. One is a little bit more visually interesting over the other, right? So the second one, the writer has included a semicolon, right? So just in that little instance there, the writer's kind of showing a little bit of a mastery of grammar. And so these sentences may stand out for their dramatic effect over a more simple basic sentence, right? Which is grammatically correct, but not as visually interesting or interesting in terms of content. Yeah. And a tutor tip that we have is that for scholarship essays, find a balance between formal, relaxed, and professional. you don't want to sound like a research article, but you also don't want to come off as too casual, right? So yeah, try to avoid being too casual where you're including like contractions, right? Or you're kind of getting into informal grammar. But because you're kind of probably going to be sharing some personal experiences, right? It's okay to kind of open up a little bit, share some of that side to you, right? So it's what would you say, Darren? It's kind of like you're trying to find like you're bleeding into each other, right? In terms of structure, you may be a little bit more formal, but in terms of content, it's a lot of personal journey.
Yeah, so this tutor tip isn't, something that's definite, right? It's something you definitely have to explore, and that's going to take some time. So that's why we really recommend for you to plan ahead because you're going to need to take multiple drafts in your essays. And finding this balance between formal, relaxed, and professional is going to take some time. And taking those time for those drafts is going to really help complete and really give you that understanding of that balance we're looking for, right? And we, of course, I think if you want to kind of take it in a more general sense, you kind of don't want to sound like a research academic article, but you also don't want to come off too casual, like you're talking to like friends or family from day to day, right? It's like that in between of like switching between certain different language communities and similar aspects like that.
And now we're going to be kind of moving on to the conclusion, right? Whereas the pre-writing stage, you're setting your outline, you're kind of thinking about what ideas you want to explore, and then the body was that initial exploration of it. The conclusion is where you kind of you wrap everything up, but you don't just summarize, right? So key thing to keep in mind is that this is where you'll mention your purpose, right? So you may reflect on your journey and remind the reader what you intended to do with this essay. And the issue with just kind of having your conclusion just be a summary or a reiteration of what you've already said is that you don't necessarily leave your audience with some kind of morsel or a piece of content that they can kind of think about, right? So, and that's what you want to do. You want to impart something upon them for them to consider so that your message and your essay kind of stays with them, right? So that they can, in the consideration process, they can kind of look at this applicant and see how they stand out, how they show their quality, right? Again, this can be a place for you to not only just discuss your current plans in college, but what goes beyond college, right? The conclusion can be a place for you to discuss future plans. If you don't have a definite plan, at least give. We would always recommend giving some kind of idea to the reader of like where you want to take your life and stuff. Where do you see yourself being, right? This is the place to do it. It's not just a place for you to kind of rehash points that you've already made. It's the place for you to kind of showcase your ambition or whatever goals, whatever other goals you have in mind. Darren, did you have any other input on this one?
Yeah, so like, when it comes to both the purpose and message and what comes after, just make sure you really leave your reader with something that they feel inside of them, right? It's kind of that feeling of like when you read a good article or a good book, you remember something from it, right? So what's something from your experience that you can kind of pass on to somebody else like that? And I think one of the ways that you can do that is just really asking yourself these open-ended questions, right? So one of the ones that we exemplified is like, how has the story you told influential in giving you the scholarship, right? Or how will the stories and journey apply to the scholarship you're applying to, right? Things like this and open-ended questions can really help with outlining and really drafting up that conclusion paragraph for your essay. Right.
And another thing
as we kind of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no,
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I'll just start first. But yeah, another thing that that was mentioned in the last presentation that I really took to heart was to kind of submit a completed work, right? So what we always recommend at the Writing Center is proofread, proofread, and proofread. And you're always editing, right? As a writer, maybe 80% of the job is actually creating it, and then the rest of it is just like making sure that you're ironing out as many of your errors, overt errors that you can. So we always recommend that you visit the Writing Center. It's a free service for students, right? So if you're a student at UOG, you can come in during our hours of operation. our office changes our hours change every semester depending on, because we're all students. So our hours kind of work around our school schedule. But our usual hours, Darren, is it's like 10 to 5 usually every semester. During the intersession, we kind of have limited hours, but during the normal semester, we're fairly open for a large window of time. But even if you can't, even if a student can't necessarily visit us, if they're just not able to see us during the day or whatever, what do you recommend for them to do, Darren?
So if you guys can't visit, let's say we understand, like, semester gets busy, life gets really stressful. You don't have the time, you don't have the means to get to campus, or possibly not even the means to meet with us. You can always get someone to look at your paper, right? We're not forcing you just to resort to us, right? You can go to other people, like let's say a family member that you trust really much, or maybe a really close friend, or even like a classmate, right? A classmate I think you're taking the class with is also a great alternative to getting feedback, just because your classmate already understands what your assignment is for, or things like that. And they already also understand if, let's say if they applied for the same scholarship or have applied for a scholarship before. I think that's going to be really, really helpful, right? And another thing I also would recommend to not do is to submit your first draft. So we might have a habit of this sometimes, right? And that's completely okay. But with scholarship essays, you really do take your time, because, this is a lot about just your experience and yourself, and you don't want to rush that. You want to be really concise, specific, and you want to explain yourself really, really well, right? And I think when you're writing about more of your experiences, it's a little more fun, right? So make sure to take your time with that. And of course, if you're having a hard time with like figuring out how to revise, maybe you take a step back, take a few minutes, a few hours, a day or so, and come back to the paper and really take a look at how your essay looks like then, right? And again, if you can't, just get another set of eyes to take a look at it to kind of give you feedback for what you currently have.
And another thing too that I want to emphasize is that so our office is made up of students from various academic backgrounds, right? So me and Darren are from the English side, but we've had tutors from the business school, the sciences, and everywhere. So hopefully, you'll when you kind of if you choose to visit us, you'll find a tutor that can best help you, right, for your specific academic inquiry or professional writing inquiry. Okay. And that's pretty much all we have for our official presentation and stuff. Yeah, we wanted to open it up to the floor if anyone had any questions.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Mr. Castro and Mr. Pons, for your insightful presentation. We are now open to taking questions from our participants. I actually have one question here on my private chat. What advice can you guys give when or for expressing financial need and in a scholarship application?
Darren, did you want to tackle that one?
When speaking about financial need or expressing about financial need, I think it just makes sure to give yourself a purpose for expressing it, right? I think, like in anything, like stories or even just academic papers you write, just make sure that you give a reason as to why you're mentioning it, right? And I think if you do that, it'll justify the you putting it in there. I think there's no specific way as to how to go about it, but as long as you can kind of flow into it very smoothly and have a really, really good reason as to why that's in there, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, like justifying it, right? It depends on your specific context.
Any question? Wow, you guys did a lot of tips and how we can boost their application and essay. So thank you for that. I have another question here from a private chat. How can a student showcase their passion for their chosen field in a scholarship application?
Well, so if I can provide myself as an example, in the letters that I've written, both for to kind of enter graduate school, what I chose to kind of do to kind of indicate my passions was to talk about for me, right, I'm a creative writer. So I was entering the graduate program to kind of write a creative thesis. So I decided that the way to kind of showcase my passion was to discuss literature that I'm interested in, and the kind of literature that I want to perpetuate in my own writing. So I would say if you're kind of confused about how to kind of talk about your passions, I would say start small. Look at what exactly brought you to that passion, right, from your childhood, and so and maybe what sustains that too. So as an adult, right, like what is keeping you invested in that specific academic field, right, or passion, and how is it kind of influencing your college career? Darren, did you have any input on that too?
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed up a great portion of it, right? It's just to really reflect on your history, and I think to also reflect like where you see that passion going to, right? Reflect on all aspects of it, and I think once you kind of do that, you're gonna have a really grounded understanding of how to explain it to others, right, and make them understand how you feel about it. And I think that's the most important thing, is making others feel what you feel.
All right. Looks like we don't have any more questions for you both. All right, so as we conclude today's enriching webinar, I express my sincere gratitude to our distinguished presenters, Ms. Janae Agan from Yogi Endowment Organization, and Mr. Michael Castro and Darren Palms from Yogi English and Communication. You all have provided us a very comprehensive scholarship guidance. Your insights will undoubtedly empower our Triton students on their scholarship journey. A special thank you extends to each attendee who actively participated in today's session or tonight's session. Before we part ways, I want to emphasize the significance of your feedback. The survey link is available in the chat box. Mr. Brian will do that for me. And we encourage you to take a few minutes to share your thoughts. Your insights are invaluable and will guide us in enhancing future sessions to better meet your needs. Furthermore, please take note that we have another webinar scheduled for tomorrow, focusing on navigating budgets, credits, wellness, credit wellness, and money management. Join us in this enlightening journey as we endeavor to equip our Triton students with the tools and knowledge to thrive financially. We hope to see you there again. Once again, thank you all for your time and participation. We eagerly anticipate future engagement and wish you continued success on your financial empowerment journey. Good night, everyone. Thank you.